This is KHTS News Director Michael Brown. Thank you, everybody, for joining me this morning. This week, we're going to be giving you all the city council candidates here live on KHTS, so make sure you tune in every morning from 10 to 11. Now, I've got the mayor, Cameron Smyth, who's the only incumbent running for re-election out of the field of 8 candidates right now. So, Mr. Mayor, we like to ask everybody why they're running, but for you, it's a little bit different because you've already run. So, what's motivating you to keep going?
You know, I've said for a long time that while what's important, what's being decided upon in Washington, D.C. or Sacramento, the real day-to-day impacts on our quality of life are not being those decisions aren't being made in Sacramento or D.C., but they're being made at the local level, whether it be your county hall of administration, city hall, school boards, water boards. And 2020 has really put that in the forefront of the importance of local government. And we know that the challenges over the last 6+ months aren't going to go away with a simple turn of a calendar or change of election. So I thought it was important that I sought a second term to continue to provide the experienced, decisive leadership that we need, at this time. And so I'm more than happy to put my record over the last 4 years out for review and discussion, and be able to be here today and talk a little bit about that, as well as the plans for the next 4 years.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, the big thing hanging over everybody right now is the COVID-19 pandemic. This has been the main headline of the year. Obviously, the city's been doing things in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have the Eat Local, the Shop Local programs. We closed off, I should say, portions of Main Street so that restaurants could expand. What else would you do if you were given another term on the city council to help out not just businesses, but also just residents in general with the COVID-19 pandemic?
So as I mentioned, the importance of local governments, before March 13th, I don't think anybody could name who the Los Angeles County Health Director was. But now I'm willing to bet a lot of people know who our health director is. And there's been decisions made, many of which that I've disagreed with, and the council has disagreed with. And so on top of the many actions we've taken, starting with being the first community to call for a regional variance. What was happening is Santa Clarita and other communities, but speaking to Santa Clarita, we continue to be held under the rules of Los Angeles County as a whole. Los Angeles County has 10 million people. It's larger than the state of Michigan, and the numbers coming out of Santa Clarita are different than what you're seeing in LA as a whole, and we don't think we should be held to that same standard. And so previously I had put forward creating a regional variance for the North County, partnering with Palmdale and Lancaster, and allowing us to use our specific numbers to dictate the reopening and the management of the reopening of our community. I've also put forth, and at the next council meeting, I believe the council will discuss and hopefully adopt the proposal to begin researching creating our own health department. I'm not naive to the costs associated with that or the concerns about creating a new city-level bureaucracy. However, Santa Clarita was formed based on the desire for more autonomy from Los Angeles County. And what we are seeing now under the pandemic is once again decisions being made by county supervisors and others that aren't from Santa Clarita, don't even know really the North County, but we're still under that direction. So I realize that creating our own health department doesn't immediately affect COVID, but it's a way for us to once again create some more autonomy for ourselves here in the North County.
Now, sticking along the lines of COVID, talk to me specifically about what you could do on the council and what the city as a whole could be doing to help small businesses that are being greatly impacted right now.
Sure. So again, first thing was, we pushed for that regional variance to get to allow our businesses to open utilizing our own numbers. You brought it up as well that we worked with our local businesses to create the opportunities here for restaurants and others to expand into the streets and to expand their footprints because of the prohibition on indoor dining. We continue to provide whatever guidance we can to help businesses open. What we're seeing is an increase in our film permit requests, which is really the number one driver in Santa Clarita. So fortunately, we're starting to see an uptick of filming. But our two largest employers, Princess Cruises and Six Flags, remain closed, and there's not much that the city of Santa Clarita can do to help Princess Cruises, reopen. I mean, those are global issues that we face. But we continue to advocate for our local businesses. One of the discussions I had with some of the salon owners was their concern that they were being put into the same tier as other larger businesses, and that was unfairly preventing them from opening when we felt, and I agree, they felt that it was appropriate. So we're looking at advocating for that, for a reassessment of businesses when it comes to the tiering system as well.
Gotcha. And final directly COVID-related question for you here. Another huge impact has been obviously on children and teenagers due to schools being closed. Now, obviously, more specifics are handled by individual districts in terms of reopening and what that will look like. But what are things that the city could be doing to be helping students and families of students during this tough time?
Well, that's something that I'm living every day. I have 3 kids in our local school system, and even going back to last year when the first closures hit, I had a student in elementary school, junior high, high school, and my wife teaches at COC. So I was watching it from all levels of education here in Santa Clarita. And I think the city's role, we have to be clear that the school districts are an independently elected body that takes their directions separately from the city. So it's our job to try to certainly be supportive where we can. We have relationships with the school districts around use of fields, transportation, law enforcement, and the resource officers on campus. I know that was a concern that I've received a number of emails about whether or not the resource officers will return to campus, and I want to assure people that once the students return to campus, those resource officers will be part of the school campus as well. But there's no point in having deputies on school campus when there's nobody on campus, right? So but that will be reaffirmed. Working with our public libraries, we provide training and parent resources, access to tablets and other materials, so those supporting materials that some kids don't have. So we encourage people from the city's standpoint, if you're having trouble, come to our public libraries, utilize some of the services there to help supplement.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned traffic there briefly. The city recently released a poll, I'm sure you saw, where traffic was no longer the number one concern of residents, obviously that taken up by the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you think that means that traffic is improving in Santa Clarita, or is there still infrastructure changes that need to be made to address the traffic issue?
So I think it's a good point that we need to monitor how long that input and that position will stay, because you mentioned, because of COVID, very few people are driving now. Most people are working from home. You don't see the traffic impact. So is that a artificial, temporary perception, or is that really going to be more long-term? The city does have a very robust traffic management system. We're always looking at the lights, and I know that's something that everyone talks about, is the importance of synchronizing our street lights and signals. And that's something that we are constantly monitoring through our traffic management system to tweak light systems. And if you'll see, I know just on my neighborhood around Lyons Avenue, the lights are different on the weekend, the timing, than they are during the week. And so we are always trying to adjust that. And again, it's a little bit more difficult to do now because you have you don't have that consistency of traffic that you have outside of COVID, when you could pretty much count on people going to work, people going to school, people coming back. And now it's a little less consistent. But I'll be curious to see, again, if those numbers are just a little bit artificial because of the timing that we have.
Gotcha. Now, recently you were just talking about law enforcement and actually even the resource deputies that are available at all of our William S. Hart high schools. Officials with that sheriff station, the Santa Clara Valley Sheriff Station, had talked to us recently saying that the number of overdoses, even fatal overdoses, are on the rise here in Santa Clarita, related to fentanyl especially. What can the city be doing to kind of address this opioid epidemic that is still very much taking place nationwide and here in our city?
Right. So, I mean, the city has been very active in partnering with our treatment centers, our medical professionals, law enforcement, as well as our local schools. The city has our Defy SCV program that starts now in the junior high schools. There's even been discussion about some pilot programs in the elementary schools and bringing that in and to promote and educate students, train community leaders or student leaders about how to recognize, how to address their peers. We do have we've partnered with the Sheriff's Department. Every one of our deputies now, I believe, have treatment and have been trained on the treatment. So if they do come on site of an overdose, they have the ability to provide, to administer aid and not waiting for the healthcare professionals. But I think it's important to remember that because as the impact of COVID, particularly on our young people, is quite significant on their mental health, and whether that leads to other ways for them to self-medicate is critical, and it takes a community effort, and it's one that we haven't forgotten just because of the pandemic.
Now, another community that's fairly large here in Santa Clarita is our veteran community. I know the city already does a lot in terms of reaching out to veterans and doing everything they can to help that community out. Do you feel there's anything more that the city could be doing to address any veteran needs, whether it be veteran homelessness, veteran mental issues, especially during the era of COVID?
Sure, I think there's always room for improvement, and I think again is what COVID has done, and with the economic impacts of COVID, the toll it's taken on our veteran community as well is very important, and working with whether it be the Veterans Collaborative, our VFWs, or American Legion posts, our mental health professionals, to make sure that those veterans have that the treatment and the resources they need. But certainly it's something that Santa Clarita is a community that loves its veterans. We are always looking for any way we can to help and honor them, and again, always room for improvement, certainly, and willing to rely on those professionals to help guide some of those decisions.
Final question for you, Mr. Mayor. If we go to the ballot box in November, give me just a couple sentences. Why would we vote for Mayor Smyth back into office?
So I have no doubt that every candidate who is running believes that they are the best person for the job, and that they are ready to make decisions that affect and drive our community. But I can tell you, over the last 12 months, I'm the only one who's actually done it and made those tough decisions. The beauty of our system is my record is out there for everyone to review. I don't shy away from that record and the tough decisions that we had to make. That's what I was elected to do, and that's what I'll continue to do. But also, in spite of all the challenges Santa Clarita's had over the last 12 months, we've continued to move forward. When you see City of Los Angeles laying off 15,000 employees, the City of Santa Monica with a $200 million budget deficit, we're continuing to move forward. We've opened up the largest play structure, all-inclusive play structure in North Los Angeles County. Our sheriff's station in Canyon Country continues to move forward. The Canyon Country Community Center is fully funded and will open next year. We've opened a brand new sheriff's station in Canyon Country, and just on Friday, we cut the ribbon and opened the brand new bike park above the sports complex that is open and free to the public and open from dawn to dusk. We've opened up another park in Saugus. So while other communities are struggling just to keep the lights on, we're not only doing that in Santa Clarita, but we're continuing to move forward. And that's because of the leadership that I've provided, the city council, as well as our city staff. So I look forward to continuing that effort, certainly addressing the challenges that we're going to face, but being able to continue to move Santa Clarita forward in spite of that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening, watching on Facebook Live. Tune in tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We will have 3 more candidates for the Santa Clarita City Council election. Reporting live here with KHTS, this is Michael Brown.